Hi, Matthew with F-Class Community Channel here, bringing you a little bit of Brian Mylleville shoot, just a few shots that he's taken. Brian was so gracious to provide me an interview, and always a pleasure to interview Canadians who have represented Canada in our World F-Class Championships. Brian has been shooting at mission at our competitions locally for many years now, and he's been a very great representative, and also has coordinated a few of the competitions here in Mission, BC. And Brian, year after year, has been very consistent, but this year he has taken it almost to another level, I would have to say. Scoring a perfect score in the Lower Mainland ISSF Championship, not dropping 1 point. And the previous championship, the Mission Raton Gun Club ISS Championship, only dropping 2 points. And winning his most recent match, which happened over the weekend, the closest person to him was 5 points away. So there is a separation. There is a level of shooting and understanding and preparation that he has taken. And it's great to see that. And thank you, Brian, for your time. And I wish I could have articulated some of the questions a little bit better. But nonetheless, I'd like to provide you a small interview with Brian, and how he has come along and what he looks for during a match. So hope the information that you get from this interview helps you with your shooting. I think the main focus and main stress points that he has, and I don't want to go into too much of a detail, is wind cycles and how that plays into a person's ability to score higher scores. At any rate, this is Matthew with F-Class Community Channel. Remember, keep an eye on the flags and tight groups.
Hi, Matthew here with F-Class Community Channel, and I have with me Brian Mylleville. Did I pronounce that correctly?
Mylleville.
Mylleville.
Close, yeah.
Okay, and the current winner of the 2015 Sierra ISSF F-Class Championship. Also, he was the winner of the Lower Mainland ISSF Championship, and also the previous one, the Mission ISS Championship. So a triple crown, so to say. He has also been a member of the 2013 F-Class team that went to Raton for the Worlds there. And Brian, thank you for your time. I'd like to ask you first your experience at Raton, and how did that help you grow as a shooter?
Key things I took away from Raton was, first of all, long-range shooting. One very important lesson there was wind cycle, how wind cycles, and working with wind cycles, especially in a situation where you can shoot single string. You have the luxury of using your own time, as long as you don't exceed the time limit. So you can lay down and sleep for 10 minutes as long as your score wakes you up. You're good to go. So I learned a lot about wind cycle there. That was a great experience. You learn a lot about team dynamic, meeting a whole host of different shooters, you know, whether they're F-Open, FTR. You know, you've got lots in common, lots to talk about. You learn all kinds of new things. It's just a whole different, you're playing it at a whole different level.
Yeah. In working with your other team members, what kind of dynamic, what kind of, I guess, a relationship do you need to shoot on a team?
Well, you have to function as a team. You have to work as a team, help each other. There's all kinds of things you do, from, you know, moving equipment, supporting each other. You know, you're going to have times when you're struggling a bit. You look at your team members to pull you up and help you, and it's a whole effort of a group.
Okay. Now your experience here. I mean, you shot an incredible score. For the most part, you shot clean and for 3 relays at the last match, and this match now you shot. You only dropped a few points. That's amazing. Now, what would you say is in terms of your load development helped you succeed in terms of getting here in terms of this level of shooting?
Well, like most people do, I run OCWs. You usually have a pretty good idea what bullet, powder, where you're going to go with it. You do your OCWs, check some stuff. But I think the critical thing is, if you've got a gun that's been chambered properly and done by a good gunsmith, you should realistically, under a calm condition at 300 yards or 300 meters, whatever you want to call it, you should be able to put, you know, a nice group into a quarter to half minute. You know, you want to be less than half a minute at that distance under a calm condition, and that's really where you start doing some testing, is at 300 initially to look at the load. Okay, because if you can't get it to group really tight at 300, you're probably going to have problems at longer ranges.
Okay, that's fantastic information. In terms of your wind cycle, you're relating your wind cycle. How do you, I guess, bring it all together? I guess do you practice a lot? Do you spend a lot of time here at the range to
I do a bit of practice with some makeshift wind flags that I use here at the range, but more importantly is I like to use a Plotomatic now. I find they're a very useful tool, quicker than trying to hand plot if you're plotting properly, plotting elevation and wind. But the Plotomatic's quicker, you get your feedback quicker. It's important I feel, to use that. And in terms of wind cycles, I watch certain flags, get a feel for the range. But you also have to have some experience with the range. It takes a while to get used to a range.
Now, interesting point that you bring out with the Plotomatics. I know a lot of shooters here plot their own scores. However, they don't utilize all the tools that a plot sheet can give them as well. What is the advantage of having a Plotomatic versus just a graph?
Well, many people will write down their scores and they'll show the impact where their bullet goes, but they haven't gone the next step and plot, you know, what the correction would be to pull off a perfect shot, whether you pulled off the perfect shot. With the Plotomatic, you can use that as well. I think it's critically important not just to plot the impacts on a miniature scale of the target. You also have to look at wind and elevation, and what are you doing? Are you getting your calls right, your wind calls right? That's critically. That's where you start to learn about wind calling.
Yeah.
Did you get your call right?
Yes. Okay. Thank you so much, Brian. You've really given, I think, a lot of the shooters here something to strive for and to look as a competitor. And we really appreciate your time. And this is Matthew with Brian with F-Class Community Channel. And I would like to just say, remember to keep an eye on the flags and tight groups.